They're everywhere. Narcissists and flying monkeys, they're everywhere. I bet you feel that way. I bet you think everyone's a narcissist now, and you're saying everyone's a narcissist. How do I know that? Because I did it too, and I went through it too. I'm going to start off with the end in mind here. Not everyone is a narcissist, okay? Not everyone is going to be a flying monkey. We have just come to this understanding, right? And if you saw my narcissistic traits video, then you know for a fact that you're just seeing narcissistic traits in other people, okay? And that's perfectly fine. One thing I can tell you from all of this time that I have spent researching this and just being in it myself, and my husband and my daughter just rolling their eyes at me every time I said, oh, that person's a narcissist and this person's a narcissist, is that you get over it. And you get to identify who the real narcissists are, who the real flying monkeys are, and who are just people who are not nice. And that's a thing. Not everyone is a nice person. And it doesn't make them a narcissist. It just makes them a not nice person. Now, I want to start off this list kind of what you're seeing in other people by saying that all of us are in one way or another a narcissist, okay? And boy, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? But I'm not saying that we're narcissists. We're definitely not narcissists. If you're watching this, you're probably not a narcissist. And I'm not a narcissist because I know I'm not a narcissist. I go to therapy. I know my faults. But we all our lives center around ourselves. We are the star of our own story, right? So we're self-centered. We're like that Greek god Narcissus, right? Which that word Narcissus comes from, who died looking at his own reflection in a pool of water, right? That's where the term comes from. So in many ways, we are narcissists, right? We have those traits. Who hasn't looked at those traits and said, I've had moments where someone is telling me something sad and I just didn't feel for them. Lack of empathy, right? Or I saw a fight brewing and I couldn't wait to see it happen. That's a narcissistic trait as well, a triangulation and getting satisfaction. Or someone who was reprimanded at work that you don't like, and maybe you were happy about that. That's a narcissistic trait, but it's the level of narcissism, right? So I just gave you a list of things that you're seeing. Now, I'm not saying that they're not out there and that you are noticing them more. And as time goes on, you'll know the real ones. Like, I know that my supervisor at a job was definitely a narcissist, and this was before I knew what it was, before I realized my mother was one, and she really touched that mother button to the point where I took her bullying for an entire year. And at the end of that year, there was a situation where that was it. I couldn't take it anymore, and my only way to react was to quit that job. And I have been beating myself up until recently because that was my only way to protect myself. I had to get out of that situation. I couldn't continue to let her be that way. Okay? And that flows into the next thing, is that narcissism is something that society will cheer on, promote, and think is great. Okay? And what I mean by that is CEOs of companies, managers in high-level positions, maybe not a manager, but a high-level person, someone who's in charge of other people. They tend to be the ones who got there because they have narcissistic traits, right? They don't have guilt. If they had to do something wrong to get that promotion, they did it, okay? without feeling any remorse for it, any guilt. So narcissism is something that is praised. Okay? What about Hollywood? What about Hollywood? Think about actors in Hollywood. Think about those really big, giant actors who go on a stage to tell us how we should think about everything on this planet. Their job is to act, but they think that, and I'm not trying to force my opinion on you by this. I hope this doesn't turn anybody off. But they use a platform that's not meant for that to tell us how we should think. All right? So most likely they have a lot of these narcissistic traits, right? And that's what you're picking up on in most people, is that they have, narcissistic traits. They're not nice people. I mean, you can nitpick little tiny things. If you read that a narcissist is a person who, for example, and I did read this and then I connected it to something, a mother that will call the HR department for their child, who is an adult. So this is a working child in their 20s or 30s, to find out what the benefits are, vacation days, if they're involving themselves that much, not trusting that their child is a full-grown adult, that's a narcissistic trait. That's that enmeshing narcissist, okay? And I saw that in my sister-in-law, whom I mentioned in one of my videos as well. And I stopped communication with her. I noticed that she was doing that, okay? So I connected her to narcissism. Is my sister-in-law narcissist? She has traits. She played the victim when she was accused of something that she had done. She changed the story. But is she really a narcissist, or did it just happen that one time with me? Or is it something that happens all the time? I don't know. I do see some traits in her, but I'm not going to get into that here. But you would have to know someone really, really, really well in order to see that they are narcissistic. They have narcissistic personality disorder, maybe have another disorder. Maybe they're just depressed, and their way of coping with depression is they're not a nice person, right? Or they feel that life has done them wrong, so they cope with it that way. I myself had a coworker. I had two in the same place that I worked closely with. One I truly believe was a full-on narcissist, and I will tell you why. And the other one was a situational person who kind of said, screw life, who cares, because something horrible happened to her. But I'm going to start with the one that really was, okay? I get to know her a little bit, and I knew that she's middle-aged, but more middle-aged than me, and extremely selfish and self-obsessed. She would go away every weekend, and she had boyfriends in different places, and she'd sleep around a bit. And these are all, character traits that fit in with a narcissist. But not only that, I knew things like her husband completely abandoned her. So these were clues, and this is me thinking back. At the time, again, I still didn't know what narcissistic personality disorder was. So this is me thinking back to her situation. But what really, really gave it away for me, besides the fact that no one in the office liked her, if someone walked in the door, she had to be the first one to say, may I help you? If the phone rang, she was the first one who answered the phone. One time I was doing something for someone, and she went where I was and told me exactly, no, you can't do that. And she was yelling at me. So at that point I had no boundaries, and I didn't know how to set boundaries, so I didn't say anything to her. She was eventually let go. I mean, it was bad. Hers, she was very covert. Overt, not covert. Sorry, overt is very loud and very out there, and then she was. But what gave it away to me was that her sons didn't speak to her. Okay, so that's what gave it away. Now the other one was not a narcissist. She was just in pain. She could be a little annoying, for a lack of a better word, and there I am, lack of empathy from myself. She could be annoying because all she talked about was this situation that happened to her. That was 24/7. It was something big, and I can't imagine what it feels like to go through what she went through, but that's all she talked about. And I was just tired. I knew all the details of what happened. I knew it. I knew that she was alienating everyone in her family, but it was pain. She wasn't purposely trying to do anything. She was handling her pain. So we're going to come across this, and I know that a lot of you are doing that right now. Where you look, you see a narcissist in the supermarket and people that are friends. And yes, some of them are. But most of them, it's narcissistic traits, because we all have them. I mean, if you look down the list, the 10 narcissistic traits that I went through in the video, you are going to fit into a few of them. And you may fit into it one day, not another. So don't rag on yourself. Don't feel bad about yourself. It's okay. The next thing I'm going to say is it's going to pass. You're going to see it clearly, and that's how all of this works. That's how all of this works. So I want to send you, like always, my love and my peace, and I hope that this video was helpful to you. And please subscribe and like and share my videos, because it could be helpful to someone else.